hot mic. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when we offend you? Hot mic, hot mic. Okay, I'm done.
No, 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 I'm not saying it's all. I'm just saying And it is Sunday
20 seconds.
morning.
20 seconds.
10 seconds after, not before. I read that wrong. Are we good here? We're live on them
Yep.
radios. Hey everyone, it is Sunday. Welcome to Slow News Day Live. My name is Steve Poikinen. I am here not on a hill in Afghanistan, contrary to popular belief. I am in Humboldt County. I am joined by my better than your co-host, Glory Jones. What's happening? How are you?
Is happening.
Good to see you.
Of course, you too.
We are going to be joined at some point by Magnus Panvidya, who has organized the End the Damn Wars events that are going to be going on next Saturday, September 11th, in recognition of 20 years of the biggest freaking psyop in U.S. history, leading into the one that we're currently living in. Very, very pleased to bring back to the show and super stoked that he could make it on such short notice. Magnus Panvidya, how you doing, man?
Good. I'm trying to emulate the Steve energy and I guess the Glory energy now too of just streaming from awkward places. So
weird outdoor spots. That's our niche now. Nobody else in the game does it like we do it.
I know
To be fair, I could probably find an indoor place, but like the weather is absolutely lovely here. So
I was joking around that it looked like you were actually interviewing Scott Horton from the mountains of Afghanistan.
I mean, dude, and like Josh was Sleepy was saying before we went live, he was like, "Bro, it's probably less smoky in Afghanistan right now."
Oof, that hurts deep.
Well, it feels like one of my favorite Michael Ballas quotes, which is, when it comes to the police, at least Stalin had the courtesy to knock.
Yes, that is the best. That is one of the most damning quotes against the United States of all time. And if you watch when he says that, even he points out too that the Nazis did as well. Like, hell, at least the Nazis rang the doorbell, before they kicked your door in and shot you in your sleep. Like, Jesus Christ.
Right. The FBI will make your assassin your best friend and set you up so that you get, your door kicked in while you're asleep and then get dozens and dozens of bullets hurtled into you, like Fred Hampton.
Oh, America.
So and look, I mean, we could have a conversation where it's a little bit of Danny Sherson appeasement, and we talk about what an aspirational republic might look like. But before we get into any of that, I definitely want to talk about the End the Damn Wars. I also want to bring up this point, and it was put to me like this yesterday that the millennial generation, Gen Y, essentially wholesale rejected everything that my generation, Generation X, did and done and kind of represented. And I don't think that we should throw all of it out. It was put to me like this: your generation, Steve, Generation X, is the we'll figure it out generation.
That's true, though.
And
so
I'm not.
it's the clerks generation.
Felt a little bit attacked, but let's walk through this all the way, because we're also the. Yeah, no, I guess it's what we do now, and we're also the okay. Well, that didn't work. Maybe we should try something new now. And we're still working through it, and it's because our generation set up the framework for everybody going forward to view in real time the wholesale destruction that the empire levies across the planet, the corruption, the fraud, the abuse, the torture, the war crimes, all of it. Like, yeah, we're responsible for your black killing. We are 100%. But
in more ways than one, though, because I would counter that. I don't think there's one American generation in history that has sold out as hard as Generation X. Look at all the rappers, look at all the punk artists, look at all the rock and roll people.
That's true. Because with millennials, I think that they kind of just like choked in general, but they were kind of set up for failure to begin with. But like,
and the boomers were a bunch of like outlaw criminals and fucking hippies and like, you know.
So carrying out what the state wanted them to do. And the older punk rock generation, the guys that are in their 50s approaching 60, for the most part, have all fucking done that too. What I was saying to you last night about California libertarians being either Republicans who grow weed or Greens who inherited property and got guns, it is like it's also fairly analogous of what happened to the vast majority of Gen X. Where we really fucking failed is that we haven't, with the possible exception of Julian Assange, presented somebody who gives a real case for what, like, I don't know, who at least puts forth a presentation that, like, yes, the state is garbage, but you don't have to rot in nihilism. You know what I mean? And I guess to a degree, Malice is trying to do that with the white pill, but I don't know if that's come out yet. But like, that's it. And if the only two people that are representative of an alternative viewpoint in the entirety of Generation X are Michael Malice and Julian Assange, then there's a number of people that should probably fucking step up.
I mean, you had Busta Rhymes. I don't know if you guys.
Oh yeah, no, that was awesome. And in the second
like
part,
COVID
when we get rid of the YouTube, when we cut YouTube and we go over to Rock Band, I'll play that again. I will.
Oh my God.
Fucking love that clip. Did we lose Magnus?
Uh-oh.
Did we?
Oh, there he is.
Well, no.
You froze there for a minute.
You just froze for a sec there because, you know, you're driving.
Yeah, I drove through like a tiny black spot. Steve went full fucking Roboto on me.
Yeah.
I do want to point out that the boomers are the most selfish generation ever, period.
Yes.
We can agree on that.
Yes.
We can agree on that. Because you have Gen X, Millennial, Zoomer, and we all agree. Fuck the
I
boomers.
like distinctly remember being in grade school and seeing bumper stickers all over the place that were like, "We're spending our children's inheritance," ha ha ha, you know, and shit like that. And that was just something that like the entire fucking generation like got high once and then went, yeah, we're just gonna fucking wild out on every conceivable addiction and fucking just sort of pass along every conceivable mental disorder and fucking agitation on the planet. And we're gonna throw a bunch of our peers who are just as fucked up as we are to be the arbiters of psychoanalysis and therapy. And we're going to spike the football and call it a win. It's time for brunch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, my Aunt June was one of the people that were blessed to be institutionalized over having mild bipolar disorder and getting electroshock therapy and shit. So good job, boomers.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I want to like I want to kind of like take, you know, highlight some of the good things about the I guess we'll figure it out then generation, because we at least know how to fucking have fun.
True.
Like millennials, their entire existence, especially towards the lower end, seems to be about never leaving the fucking house, never fucking experimenting with anything other than like a new fucking online app or game, and that's fucking it. Like there's very few actual translatable real world life skills. People can build a fucking grudge or a resentment, but that's about fucking it.
They're mastercraft at building grudges and resentment.
And so that's what I mean with don't throw it all away. Take some of the shit and be like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's an indictment when Julian Assange said we are the last free generation. Maybe that's an indictment. Maybe it's a forewarning. Maybe it's a call to arms, but there are lots of different ways to interpret that, and it doesn't have to all be negative.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can agree with that. I don't think they're irredeemable as the boomers. I say they as if you're not sitting right here, Steve. But yeah, I definitely think there's something there. But even like my parents, kind of, it's very similar to the boomer selfishness, but it's like a different take or angle on it. To where when I talk to them about stuff, they know it's super fucked up, but they're like scared to do it. But yeah, but they're scared to do anything about it because they're like, well, I've worked for all of this and I just want to keep my head down and blah, blah, blah. And, I get it from my parents all the time of like, why do you have to be doing this? Someone else should be doing this. And I'm like, fucking no, not a lot of people are. So that's why I'm doing it.
It's very cynical. Like, it's like that attitude kind of spawns like this aura of cynicism that I see in like some of my parents' generation where it's like, they know that the shit they're doing is like gonna fuck it up for the future, but they're like, oh man, I'm just trying to get by. Like, I'm only thinking about like me and my family, and I'm like, okay, at least you're being open about it at that point. But I mean, like with Zoomers, it's like we're pissed at everyone because of that, but we're on our way to selling out as well. And I'm just like, no, please. We were doing so good.
That job report. Oh, sorry.
Okay, real quick. Our cynicism created Gen Y nihilism, and that has sort of created this like, well, if everything's already doomed to fail, I'm just gonna go ahead and grab my little piece in Gen Z. And yeah, dude, a lot of that looks like selling out. It really does. Or
you get crazy collapsitarians that are just like, fuck it, let it all burn.
Yeah,
that's the Zoomers.
But it's this weird kind of like, I want to burn down the system unless the state is mandating a vaccine or masks or any sort of medical tyranny. Then I'm going to reinforce everything the state says because harm reduction.
It's like I'm angry, but if you want to redirect it, it'll be very easy to. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, very, very easily co-opted, very easily misdirected. And I mean, like I was gonna say, that jobs report thing that came out where they interviewed all the high school students in America, and like I was like, what, 70-something% of them wanted to be Twitch streamers and YouTubers instead of like scientists or anything. It's like, oof. Talk about a condemnation of our culture at this point.
And look, dude, if you're 17 and you're seeing a segment of society that is breaking its body for absolutely fucking for the privilege of not breaking their bodies homeless, you see a segment of society that is beyond wealthy and totally untouchable and completely inaccessible, and then you see a segment of society that's people playing video games and dumb fucks throwing hundreds of dollars at them. What the fuck are you gonna want to be when you grow up?
You want to go into some deep fucking conspiracy here, Steve?
Yes, I do. In fact, one of the segments in the title of the show is "We Go Deep." That's
what she said.
Yes.
So true. Where are all of these people that have all of this money to just have all of these YouTubers and Twitch streamers fucking just packed to the gills, millionaires, billionaires, fucking Hassan Pikas and shit like that. Like, what?
Magnus, I'm going to tell you a story. It's really CIA.
That unironically though, I sometimes wonder if like there's like, because I mean, little stories leak out of like, you know, Australian government pays millions of dollars to TikTok influencers to push government propaganda. Like shit like that comes out.
Langley. I've seen it. I've got it on video.
I mean, in the same sense that like some hip hop artists came from like that whole establishment, like now it's just YouTubers because that's the new arena for like co-option and influence now.
Yep. And I mean, you fucking, damn it, Steve, you blinked my thought. Fuck, what was I gonna say?
My Alex Jones is getting better. It is.
Yes.
Shit. It's gone. I don't know if I'll remember it. I'll think of it like 20 minutes from now.
Influencers in Australia, you were saying something about that?
Oh, the millions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. It's gone.
We know that there were articles
I remember now. Sorry, before I forget.
Bloomberg, New York Times about the millions that fucking Gavi and the NIH and Op Warp Speed put to social media influencers at the local level and the international level to spread propaganda about the jabby jabs.
Yeah, and before I forget, a lot of people don't know this, but the U.S. Army has a Department of Memetic Warfare. It's a literal department in the fucking military is meme warfare department. Which,
and
God, could you imagine?
Y'all
can you imagine?
Lose.
Imagine the people that work in that department, Glory. Just try to visualize the type of people that get stuck.
I mean, they should hit me up. Just saying. I mean,
no,
I
no,
decline.
they shouldn't, because look, dude, you can tell if there's a group of people that can meme. They're not working for the state. This is why the left has largely lost the fucking plot when it comes to their ability to meme. The left can't meme for shit
to tell them no. I just want to get the chance to, like, you know, videotape it or record it so I can leak it and then tell them no.
You're gonna have to expose the fact that you're like a brilliant fucking meme maker, and maybe you want to keep that under the afro for a little bit longer.
Just saying.
See, you're gonna end up like my friend Lewis, who continuously gets hit up by Louisville PD to join the police department, even though they only know him from doing armed security for BLM. They're just like, we're so impressed with your work. He's like, I fucking hate you people. Why do you keep giving me job offers?
I know. See, that's the one thing that the Zoomers do have on everybody, though, is our ability to meme.
That one. What was like city council or like school board meeting, whatever, where they put all the fake names.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say that. I thought you were gonna say the guy that showed up and was like, "Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time."
No, there's these kids that they went in and they put in a bunch of requests to become speakers, and they were all goofy ass names that when you read them out loud were essentially like me hard.
It was every time Bart called Moe's bar and had Moe ask for somebody. That's what it was. It was a mashup of that, and it was goddamn brilliant. Why won't anyone find me Amanda Hug and Kiss?
Yes, the Zoomers have the memes, even if it's misdirected sometimes. Particularly the K-pop stans. They're psychos. I mean,
God.
They use it for shit libery, which is annoying, but they're really good at it.
But they can call it trends sometimes.
Internet.
That K-pop shit, like the Twitter presence, that's a fucking op, dude. There's no way it's not.
Oh yeah, I like it when they take over like the Blue Lives Matter trends though, and just fill it with like fan cams. I'm like, okay, I can respect that.
Hey,
not organic.
Real quick, we're about 20 minutes into the show, and I fucking forgot to do this bit. The show has a sponsor because it's new, so I forget. So the sponsor of the show is Matrix Bars. That's the QR code right there, that one. And Matrix Bars, 3.5 grams of psilocybin mushrooms per bar. I dig it. I dig it a lot. In fact, I'm gonna do a full like trip report and then talk about a microdose regimen later this afternoon that I'll upload. I won't be live streaming that.
Ooh, fancy.
And then, if you are interested, should you want to go down the rabbit hole, scan the QR code. Just scan that QR code. Or if you're on Twitter or Instagram, DM Matrix Genetics at MatrixGenetix. Say, hey, I am interested. The little white rabbit will show up, meet you, and take you down to Ho. Matrix bars. It's it's good for your head. Aside from that, this is an entirely viewer supported show. Because the interwebs suck where I'm at and I can't stream that often, I have not been able to promote our GoFundMe the way that I would normally have to and be forced to. It's in the description everywhere we have a video. Please click on that. If you got a couple of bucks, throw at it. If you don't, please share the link. It really does help. You can also buy Steve Josh a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Bort, BORT. I think that's about it. Have merch stuff coming. Have some really cool t-shirts that Johnny Bravado is doing the artwork for, and you guys are going to fucking flip when you see this shit. Also, I think it's just Truth Clothing, not entirely sure, but the company that puts out T-Labs merchandise, they're working on a couple of shirts for me as well. So we're gonna have that very soon. There's a lot of people who have been asking for that. I promise it's coming. It's on the way. That's what she said. Get a guess. Somebody was waiting around to throw that in there. Head that off at the pass. That I think that does it for the business. Magnus, what's going on next Saturday?
Next Saturday, we're going to be screaming at the White House, calling them a bunch of blood-soaked neocons and demanding the end of all the imperialist warfare and fucking around in South America and everything else that's good and holy on this earth.
And how many cities are you guys up to right now? And also, thanks for throwing LA at us like last fucking second. That's right. Love you guys.
Literally, Kimber's just like, oh, I guess there's an LA event. And then he posted it in the Discord. And I'm like, who's running this? And then after like a half hour of trying to figure out who's running it, we finally got an answer. It is what it is. But we have Seattle, Portland, Sacramento, LA, Scottsdale, Las Vegas, Denver, 3 locations in Florida: Fort Lauderdale, Daytona Beach, and Jacksonville, and then New York City and Washington D.C. I think that's where we're at now.
That's my home state. Okay, Florida. Okay.
Everyone on the coast and then just Denver randomly are killing it, and then all of like the flyover states are like.
So do you guys have a? I was just gonna say. For the LA one, it's City Hall at noon. So plugging that one because I'll be there for that one. I mean, I was planning to try and make it to the Sacramento one for like a day trip, but then I heard there's one in LA. So I'm like, okay, well, looks like I'll be there.
Yeah, and I mean, like a lot of the events probably will be small, but we work best at small events. And the one in DC looks like at this point it might be huge, which traumatizes and scares me. But I'm gonna make the best of it.
Hell yeah, dude! Hell yeah! I hope it is though, man. I hope it's a massive success. If you're anywhere near Sacramento, come see me. Come see Adam Kokesh. I can't remember who else is up there and speaking. Angela.
Yeah.
Oh God, what? Yeah. I'm gonna fuck up her last name, Magnus, and I don't want to do that because she's a lovely woman. But the lady who was on your show running for LP chair in LA there.
She brought a guillotine to a protest, so she has my
that
respect.
She made. Bro, I can only get so wet, and like that was rad.
I support all bringing guillotines to protests. But yeah, it's just crazy that this whole idea started when we were all in DC at the Assange event, and we were all like drunk and stoned, and we were just off the cuff bullshitting. And we're like, we should do an anti-war march in DC. And from that, like, inebriated idea, here we are.
Pull in the full picture, because it's the Action for Assange crew, the Convo Couch, Garland Nixon. I
Franco.
think Jordan was there too.
Yep.
And
Emily was too.
Jordan, Franco. Well, I know Franco was there for some of that.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, that was a dope ass place.
It was.
Dude, we've stayed in some shitholes in DC going there to do events. Like, we really have, dude. The place we were at in January was fucking, like, you thought it looked like I was at the trap house in Kendra's living room, dude. This was the fucking trap house. Like, and fucking,
you found the most trap house wall to sit in front of. You could have picked any other one.
I know.
I almost did, and then when I came back the other week, I set up in front of it's like a brick wall. So instead of the trap house, it looked like I was coming to people from the fucking improv, I guess.
Yeah, comedy stage.
Right? A little fucking cardboard sign behind me that says the haha room or some shit. The Chuckle Factory.
Real quick, as long as we're gonna bring up the Airbnb, just for the throwback, I'm gonna pull up the random screenshots because these are so wholesome.
Oh
Look
my
at
God,
us.
we are shockingly wholesome. We are. Here, let's get that up there.
That's one of my favorites.
Aww.
Every one of these. Every one of these screenshots like perfectly depicts people's personalities over and over again.
Yo, aw.
Ladies, get you a man that cherishes you the way Steve cherishes pasta.
Man, ladies, be as fucking cool as pasta, and I will cherish you as such.
Oh, shut
I
up.
will. Burden of fucking proof is on you, bitches.
I remember I just
I'm
got the one
already
picture.
affectionate.
I got that one picture by total accident because I think I was taking a picture of like Beth holding up like a shirt she made or something, and in the background, Pasta just has his head in his hands. He's like looking utterly annoyed and defeated because he just got off the phone with some stupid people.
Oh my
like,
God!
yeah.
With this, I think it was with the CNN dude, because that was when they found out that CNN, that like CNN,
Everybody.
yeah, like a bunch of mainstream media outlets ripped their footage the day before our Fuck Censorship event. So then we went to the Fuck Censorship event and we were yelling at them to pay them. And then like that night or the next day, they got an email like, "Hi, we would like to pay for some licensing of your footage." And we were like, "Oh!"
Let's say it's probably good Pasta didn't do what I told him to do and go full Italian, have a baseball bat, and start threatening to break people's knees until they pay him.
I just remember I was like, there were
I'm breaking knees.
There were like these like regular ass like bystanders from like C-SPAN and Fox just like hanging out on the roof and like chilling and like gazing down at the little protesters, and I was just like, oh no, fuck you guys. Hey yo!
I just love this. I just love the idea. I just love the idea of like C-SPAN knocking on Fox News doors and be like, dude, they're dragging CNN. Come out here.
Like, hey, come watch the protest. And then, you know, like I get wind of them and I just start yelling at them and they're like, oh.
It did have Occupy rich people on Wall Street vibes when they were standing on the balconies sipping wine and laughing at the Occupy protesters.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, dude.
I did chase some of them off. I remember that. Like, I started yelling at them, and then they turned away and started going inside. I'm like, well, fuck you then.
Cowards.
I know.
But yeah, we have all these events. People should show up to them. It's going to be awesome. There's a bunch of awesome speakers everywhere.
Roll down the list of who's speaking in DC, because that's high caliber right there.
So we have the official speakers, and then we have all the cool kids who don't want to publicly admit they're going to be speaking because they're millennials and that's how we do things. But yeah, we have Nico speaking. We have Sorry, I'm tripping over my words. We have Spike Cohen speaking. Garland Nixon is speaking. Danny is speaking. Scott Horton speaking. And then we have a bunch of surprise guests that hopefully will show up and speak that, people you guys would know that are good folks. So
Good deal. And that, I mean, that alone, that lineup is almost all military veterans who are passionately anti-war.
Mhm.
And that is one of the things that, like, we've talked about extensively with Danny. I've talked about it not necessarily on the show, but on the phone with Adam a lot, Kokesh, and we so desperately need a resurgence of the veteran anti-war movement. And here's the thing, Danny is on an island being on the left and being an anti-war veteran. The biggest anti-war sentiment that I have seen post-Occupy has all come from the libertarian right. All of the organizing, all of the fucking literature. My God, dude, antiwar.com, hands down, the penultimate foreign policy source for the anti-war position on foreign policy.
And they even go as far as to argue against, Venezuela chicken hawking and fucking going after China and all these other things that, like, even the anti-war right slip into all the time. Like, we should stop bombing in the Middle East, but them Chinamen, it's like, oh, fucking A, dude.
Broadly, it's very much like that. And then you'll have like localized groups. Because I know in Miami, it's largely kind of like the left and the Code Pink types that do organizing to, like, hands off Cuba, like that kind of stuff, and then hands off Venezuela as well. And then I think the only other time I can think of, like, really kind of the quote unquote left doing something huge is for the Free Palestine protests. But like that was largely because something huge was happening. In that case, it was the escalation in the Al-Aqsa Mosque attacks and the ethnic cleansing in Sheikh Jarrah. So it was like, okay, yeah, because I mean, like 20K people showed up in LA to protest for Palestine. But the thing is months before that, I was at a Free Palestine protest outside the United Arab Embassy in LA, and that had like 24 people. So it's like, okay, so you guys are only organizing if something huge happens, which is like, okay, awesome. But like in terms of who's actually sustaining any remnants of an anti-war movement, it's largely, like the libertarians. Kind of on there, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, a lot of it is the college kids who only show up when they're told to be mad about something. I mean, you have the same thing with the BLM marches and, like, the BLM movement dying for 4 years, even though the problems didn't go away, and then suddenly resurging when people are told to be mad about it. It's like, you always have that small core of people that actually give a shit, and then you have the trendy crowds that just come and go. It's unfortunate, but hopefully the main goal here is to try to circumnavigate that, because we're not involved with any big organization. We don't have any political party backing us or anything like that. This is just people who are pissed off and want change. And hopefully we can kind of grassroots it from there. And, I'm never going to be able to sell out, most importantly, because no one would ever offer it to me because I'm corrosive. So, but yeah, hopefully we can kind of get something going.
So I wanted to address the comment that I had put up from Jilly that said, being an anti-war veteran, isn't that like the rich person opposing capitalism now that they have theirs? Now that they have their what, Jilly? Their PTSD, their nightmares, their broken body, their fucking failing health. Now that they have seen firsthand the wanton destruction of what the Empire does and are in a better position to relay what that destruction looks like than anybody else on the fucking planet. Yeah, that's the theirs that they have.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. It is
authoritative source.
Yeah, I mean, and like you guys talk about very often and very accurately, the United States being the most propagandized country in the world. The most propagandized individuals are 17-year-old kids in ROTC that then go join the military, because they're literally taught that America is like God's gift to man, and there's a bunch of evil people that are rapists and murderers all over the planet that want to take our freedom and shit. And then they go and see the truth, because it's hard to lie with what you see with your own eyes. And they come back being the most staunch anti-war activists ever. Everyone I know that's in the military or was in the military have the better information and thus are even more aggressively anti-war than anybody else.
Yeah, that's to put that forward as almost a condemnation, I think is supremely naive and incredibly smug, and comes from a place of pure comfort. And I understand that it's an all-volunteer military. If you've actually listened to any of the conversations that we've had with Danny Sherson, he talks about this extensively. If you look at anybody who has been through this fucking meat grinder, and Magnus is right, a 17-year-old ROTC kid, or a 17-year-old poor kid, or a 17-year-old kid who has only grown up in that propaganda bubble, is then going to get more psychological trauma in boot camp, where they get their identity stripped away from them, where they're fucking told, like, you're only here to follow orders and die, kid. Fucking, we already put the smart ones in officer corps,
Right.
When you're traumatized on every step of the way, from the time that you're like mid-teens, if not earlier, through the time you're 28, 29, 30, if you can't recognize that, if you can't recognize the coercion that comes from the military recruiter, if you've never heard vets talk about, if I had one person whose existence I could end forever, it would be my recruiter.
Yep.
If you've never seen that shit, man, yeah, I could see where you could have that position. I could.
And like I said, like I grew up in a very poor community, and sorry for anyone who's just watching me point my camera at this baby deer that's like 3 feet away from me, but it's just super cool while I talk. But I had
the
recruiters
personal
in my
responsibility, Jilly, is them being anti-war and offering up the reasons why. That's the personal responsibility. I'm not providing excuses. I'm asking you to fucking see the whole picture. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, because I had military recruiters in my middle school gym, like already like priming and pumping kids from that early of an age. So it's really bad in the poor communities with that.
I mean,
I didn't see the military recruiters my freshman year of high school, which was 1993. 1994, NAFTA passed. Military recruiters were flooding my high school the moment NAFTA passed. And then for the next 2 years, it was all of it was just, priming you. They stopped telling you about the SATs and the ACTs, and they started talking to you about the ASVAB.
What were you going to say, Sleepy?
I've got a point. Like, when they stopped showing us casualties of war on the fucking news, the vets coming back that are becoming anti-war is the only source of information we have about what's actually fucking going on there. And that's one of the things that made me fucking anti-war back in the day, because I didn't know any of that shit was happening. Once I, found out that shit was happening, then I became anti-war and shit. But, like, the vets coming back, they're the only source of information. That's it. Like, the U.S. media hides everything about what we're doing in war.
Yeah, I mean, like the first experience I had with what was going on in Afghanistan outside of the media was when I first started like running around with the Anons and everything during the Million Mass March days. I had a buddy named Gunther that was a Marine corpsman, a Marine medic, essentially, over in Afghanistan. And he had smuggled pictures out of what he did in Afghanistan, which was defend poppy fields. And that's all he did the entire time he was over there, was stand in poppy fields and shoot people trying to go into poppy fields. And, I would have never known that if it wasn't for him, because that wasn't played on the news. And that was, the internet wasn't as vociferous as it is now. So it was, not easy to find
that online. Still not.
Yeah. Outside of WikiLeaks, like, And, occasionally you get actual like victims of the war, like the people in those countries that are able to like, speak out and be uplifted enough to the point where more people can hear their message. But I mean, yeah, other than that, when you're in the West, it's pretty hard to hear. Or you get a big shout out, you get whistleblowers like David McBride, because I mean, he was ex-military, Australian military, and because of his case, more and more people are speaking up. So it's like when other vets see other vets speaking up, I think that helps too.
There were actual political consequences in Australia for David McBride's disclosures.
Yeah.
It is so what is David McBride just automatically still a piece of shit, Jilly? Or is that like what is good enough for you? Like I'm trying to figure that out, because unless you're on the front lines trying to stop military recruiters, or talking to high school kids every day, or trying to do everything you can to get in the damn wars to become an actual rallying cry of a generation, the fuck?
So I mean, that's
dude?
that's like Kokesh's entire organization that he formed, is they just go and stand out in front of recruiting offices and pass out flyers and try to convince people not to join. That's the whole thing he does.
It's basically jury nullification, but for military recruitment, and it's fucking awesome.
Remember, you're not supposed to talk to him, Steve. You're not supposed to.
Him and Preisner's Winter Soldier testimony, man, that shit solidified my anti-war stances. That shit's rough.
Yeah, dude. Preisner's speech for the Winter Soldier thing in 2010 or 2011, that I know for a fact that fucking radicalized a number of people that I've become close to over the years. And Josh is 100% correct. You can sit at home and be like, I'm against the wars, I'm anti-military. Okay, what's that doing to fucking dissuade a heavily propagandized 17-year-old kid who has only had reinforcement that joining the military is a good, noble, right thing to do?
And yeah, that's the other thing, the other side of it is there's a large percentage of the population that if they hear an anti-war message from anyone who's not a veteran, they just assume it's fucking pinko commie, anti-American, bullshit. But you can't say that to a veteran. It's the same thing whenever you have either a current or ex-police officer come out and tell the reality about the police. It's like, well, you can't exactly say that guy's not telling the truth. He's not, pushing an angle. He's just describing his personal experiences, what they saw with their own eyes, and you can't, propagandize that out or smear that as effectively.
Well, no, and there's always going to be people where that public flagellation isn't going to be good enough. They're still going to want that person to pay for somehow more for every act they've ever done, not even once considering what that person's mental health might be like. I've done a shit ton of volunteer work with veterans groups as an adult, and holy fuck, man, like, you can only leave a VA with tears and empathy.
Yep. And I mean, like, to the propaganda thing, to the propaganda thing, like, I did my whole stream on Ron DeSantis last night, and I've probably gotten at least 100 messages and comments from different people being like, I never knew he worked at Guantanamo Bay. It's like, yeah, because nobody looks into anything, and unless the news tells you about it, they won't. And the news doesn't want to attack him for working at Gitmo. So it's just that kind of thing of like, you have entire populations of people.
Here's my thing as well, is you don't even have to look into his past. Like, when, I knew that and stuff, and I was just like, okay, makes sense. I mean, look at what he's doing now. It's like he's between the anti-protest bill and like also I see so many people who are like, independent but like right-leaning that are like, oh man, yes, Ron DeSantis, he said no to mask mandates, stick it to Joe Biden. Yes, I am so proud. And I'm like, this is theater. This is
Yeah, I mean, the other one that got people a lot is that he has an entire commission inside the Florida Economic and Business Commission that is set up to investigate and harass companies that refuse to do business with Israel.
That's
like,
what
yeah.
I was.
It's like,
It's
yeah,
like
super
this-
free market, fucking freedom-loving Ron DeSantis six the government builds.
Look up Ron DeSantis Ben and Jerry's. You will find like a written letter from him during which he's like, when he's literally demanding like the sanctioning of an ice cream company because they won't pledge their undying support and love for Israel. It's like, dude, really?
Yeah. The guy's a fucking psycho. And like I even said in the stream, you got people like, we either have to choose between Australia or Ron DeSantis. And I'm like, shut the fuck.
Ron DeSantis is Australia.
Right.
Especially
what the fuck are
'cause,
you missing?
Yeah. Especially because, like, so when Ron DeSantis isn't governor anymore, all the infrastructure that he helped set up is gonna remain with someone who's probably gonna be worse than him. So it's like, gosh. And the thing is because like Ron DeSantis got his career like riding off the coattails of the entire Trump cult of personality. So it's like because of that, people essentially fell for him the same way they fell for Trump, and it's just like, oh my god, guys, you literally fell for this exact same trap before.
Yeah, that's what I said. We're just like right back into the toilet bowl. It's the same thing over and over again. You just keep not always, and obviously, like, you know, always we need to lesser to evil everything, even though our options are getting increasingly worse and worse by the minute.
I know. I just get so annoyed because I feel like there's so few ways to like go at Ron DeSantis the right way, because it's like I go at him all the time because like, yeah, he's a piece of shit, but then I also can't stand the people that are like, oh, that's why I'm canvassing for Democrats every day to make sure he gets removed. And I'm just like, no. It's
identical to the Gavin Newsom thing, where you either have people that are like massively riding his dick, and then you stumble on someone that's quote unquote on your side, and they want like someone even worse, and it's like, god damn it.
I saw a flyer for PSL, the Party of Socialism and Liberation in Los Angeles, to do canvassing to vote no on the recall.
Did you see that that Gavin Newsom hired a bunch of staffers to go on Grindr and run vote no ads on Grindr using their profiles?
Awesome.
We live in a cartoon, Steve. You're not wrong. We live in a fucking cartoon.
It was supposed to be a joke, man. It was. Fuck the shit that I saw Richard Wolff on yesterday, and his like just full-throated support of totalitarianism. You know, it's like, this is someone who at least at one point a lot of people respected. The last time I saw him, he was getting screamed at by the fucking shit-lib version of Ben Shapiro, and they were like yelling at each other over what a word meant. So after that fucking debate, I thought he gave it up. I thought he was like, shit, there's no coming back from that. I just lost all credibility. I got into a screaming match with a fucking man-child about nothing.
This is Vosh, or who was this?
Destiny, right?
Oh, Destiny. Destiny literally is like fucking Negaverse Ben Shapiro. It's so funny.
He is. He's Ben Shapiro with a little bit longer hair and fucking slightly lefter positions. Shut the fuck up.
So for people who don't know, I watch everything on YouTube on ×2 speed because I'm a fucking zoomer and I have the attention span of a goldfish. I had a video autoplay to the Destiny Ben Shapiro debate, or it was like a video of like one of them watching the other person's video. Holy shit, did I think that like my phone was about to like blast off into space. It was Alvin and the Chipmunks tier, like just it was like holy fuck.
I can't even imagine.
God.
I can't.
I don't want to.
No, but I mean, if almost all of the voices on the left are pushing these, totalitarian positions, this fucking idealized version of the state where it only exists to medi out harm reduction, like, what the... I mean, how fucking far gone is an entire segment of the population when you're looking at proven murderers, thieves, liars, fraudsters, sociopaths, and eugenicists, and going, yeah, no, we need to back them because it is consistent with the leftist position, the socialist position, and the blue anarchist position, which is the most retarded fucking thing I've ever heard of in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much better on the right because they are the most easily sheepdogged people in the world just because their fear of the Democrats will get them to vote for literally fucking anybody and they won't even look into it. Like, it's so annoying. And it's even infected the LP. The whole reason I made that DeSantis video is because there's a bunch of people in the LP that ironically think DeSantis is like some liberty warrior or some shit. And I'm like, what are you on?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you've been speaking out against him because I see it too, where a lot of like not libertarian but like independent people have been falling for him because he puts on the show for COVID. It's like it's really all a show. It is.
And it's that sheepdog thing that, like, obviously a lot of people talk about on the left, but it's happening on the right with DeSantis so much because you have Kristi Noem, who I don't like that much better, but she didn't work at fucking Gitmo, so that's something at least. Who did the exact same thing DeSantis did, but the media just doesn't talk about her. You have other governors that did the same thing DeSantis did, but the media doesn't talk about them. They focus on DeSantis. Both the attacks and the support all go to DeSantis. And anyone who's in the know like us, that starts making alarm bells go off in your fucking head. Like, hey, wait a minute. Something's going on here.
They just had CPAC last month, and they did a number of presidential straw polls. In the one where they included Trump, this is how far gone the conservatives are right now. This is how far. They included Trump in a straw poll at CPAC. Trump got 70% of the vote. Number two was DeSantis at like 22% of the vote. When they eliminated Trump, DeSantis got like 64% of the vote. That's how hard they're pushing this dude this early ahead of the 2024 election.
Oh yeah, tons of people are unironically like DeSantis Tulsi and shit like that, and I'm like, oh my god.
Listen, and I supported Tulsi back in 2020. I'm not putting her on another ticket, and I supported her. I'm sorry, like. But then again, I have changed a lot then since I supported her. So, but yeah, still.
It's more the combination than anything. Like, hey, let's take two people that were good on exactly one thing and bad on a bunch of other stuff, and then put them together, and they cancel their one good thing out. So
oh my God. I remember during 2020, I remember they were trying to do like a unity ticket or some shit like that. And they were like, oh, for our official unity ticket is Tulsi Gabbard and Dan Crenshaw.
And Jocko Willink, which again, I have infinite and unlimited respect for Jocko because that guy is a fucking unit and he is really smart on a lot of things. He has a lot of good messaging, but holy fuck is he a hammer looking for a nail always.
Yeah.
He is a seal that wants to kill things and he cannot think past killing things. Like, that's
Bro,
fucking
and I'm
Taco
like,
Willick.
everybody's like, oh, this will be a great thing. I respect Dan Crenshaw because he's a vet. Nah, fuck that. Dude is so far up Israel's ass, he found Ron DeSantis.
Bro, seriously,
Like-
Dan Crenshaw is absolutely the worst. He is a fucking neocon. He is a traitor. He's a war hawk. He's a gun control snimp. I love how the people from Atlas Gym, the gym in New Jersey that refused to lock down and like went through everything, got into a spat and they essentially called him a coward and a traitor. They got like ratioed the shit out of Dan Crenshaw. They're like, you're calling us a LARPing patriot. Where have you been, you last year? Too busy sucking Israel's dick. And it's like, oh fuck.
I need to find this. I just remember like
Get 'em.
the entirety of like Nick Fuente's fanboys had like a beef with him. And like that was another interesting thing that happened on the right. Like people always say the left is divided. Is like the right is like that too. Because there was this like whole ongoing beef between like the Nick Fuentes, like Groypers, Pepe memes and like the CPAC and like, you know, the traditional conservatives and neocons and all that. Like there was a huge beef between that. And I remember, I think it was at one of the CPACs where like Nick Fuentes was like squaring up to Ben Shapiro while he's like walking his family through a crosswalk.
Yeah, that was 2019.
Fuentes is the fucking dean of the clown college. They're doing an event on September 18th that's totally not a Fed op in front of the White House. So pay attention to that, people. I'm calling that early. If anything happens at that, that's some fucking op. But yeah, like the conservatives, they have less groups and less teams, but they're three-way split between like the Trump people. Well, actually, it'd be a four-way split, like between like the right libertarians, the Trump people, the boomer cons, and then the Fuentes types. It's fucking bad. And honestly, yeah, it's stupid to where even to the point where fucking I got the attention of the Groypers and they were all on my timeline like trying to pick fights with me and shit. And then Patriot Front, which is an actual like white supremacist organization, came in and started fighting with the Groypers. And then my mentions were just full of Nazis and half Nazis arguing with each other about who's a Fed or not. And I was like, what fucking clown universe is going on?
Oh my god, it's like it's so annoying having to deal with the culture war bullshit, but like, oh my god,
it can be entertaining sometimes.
I know, it's like oh, so this is what it must be like when they watch the left cannibalize itself, and like especially when you're post-partisan, you just watch both sides and you're like, wow, these two are one and the same and they don't even realize it.
That was my other whole thing about calling DeSantis the right-wing AOC, because the same things people say about AOC and the squad, they say about DeSantis. Of like, oh, he's trying his best and we can push him right on liberty issues and the opposition is more important than what DeSantis has done. And like it all sounds like the same AOC coping, but it's on the right. And I'm like, oh my God, you people are fucking identical to each other.
It's like when the whole like AOC Marjorie Taylor Greene beef popped off. I was just like, you guys do realize they're just like the mirror image of each other. They're just like they're just there to appeal to different people. It's like
it's that old soccer meme of the guy that's standing on the crowd looking all disappointed, and the text was, "When there's a civil war, but you don't like either of the sides." It's like, but I do have to eventually start going to work, so yeah.
Okay, but no, I was gonna say we've been going about an hour. We've got some other stuff to discuss, and we're gonna open up the phone lines. So, Magda, I want to thank you very much for popping in short notice. Appreciate the conversation. One more time, run through the list of cities where the End the Damn Wars events are going to take place. And of course, that's going to happen next Saturday, September 11th. This is in observance of 20 years of endless fucking war.
Yeah, so we got Portland, Seattle, LA, Sacramento, Denver, Scottsdale, Arizona, Jacksonville, Fort Lauderdale, Daytona, New York City, and Washington D.C. And I don't think I missed one. I hope I did. But yeah.
Angeles.
Oh yeah, and LA. Sorry, but yeah. So we have all those events. Almost all of them are starting at noon. But if they aren't, either on the website endthedamnwars.org or on the Twitter page, which is just End the Damn Wars, you can find those. We're updating those consistently. So if it doesn't start at noon, you'll at least know where. We got the flyers and locations and everything on that. And then obviously, if you want to help us out, End the Damn Wars on GoFundMe, and we have awesome T-shirt store on Teespring that's End the Damn Wars, because the graphic logo we made was actually really cool. It's a cool shirt. You should get one. It's really awesome. And then other than that, my stuff, I run a little podcast called Unity or Death. If you just search my name, Magnus Fan Video, on YouTube, it'll come up. That's also the same channel where I did my hour-long breakdown of all the ways Ron DeSantis is a piece of shit. We'll watch that there. And yeah, that's me.
Oh yeah, man. Well, thank you very much. Everybody else, stick around. We got a whole nother hour of Slow News Day for you. And one more time, man, the show is sponsored by Matrix Bars. Scan the QR code to my left. That's my left. Go down the rabbit hole. Matrix Bars have 3.5 grams of psilocybin mushrooms per bar. That shit is no joke, son. Go fucking go vibe high. That's what I would advise. So we're gonna go ahead and open up the phone lines. And by the way, Jilly, if you're feeling like you need to defend that position or you want to, happy to take a phone call. I really don't think that you're going to convince a lot of people to join an anti-war movement by going, well, everyone that's ever been in the military is a mass murderer and therefore they have no voice here. I really don't.
Dude, veterans started the anti-war movement in this country. People forget that.
I mean, yeah.
That's they started it in Vietnam, dude. Like, they started that shit, period.
Well, even before that, the what was it? The Doughboy Army, like 1919, after World War I, that didn't get paid, was the first anti-war march on Washington. It was all veterans, and they sent out Patton and somebody, I can't remember, Danny Sherson's told the story. They sent out Patton and somebody else to fucking crush it. But yeah, the very first anti-war protest in this country, 1919, all veterans.
Yeah,
But
I'd say
right?
I'd say large one, because the one caveat I will add is that before that you had Eugene Debs from the, was it Socialist or Communist Party, speaking out against World War I and getting jailed under the Espionage Act for that. But I mean, in terms of like, who?
And the Sedition Act.
Yeah, and the Sedition Act. That's the only caveat I'll have. But that was like, yeah.
You're right. That's not saying it's not anti-war sentiment, but yeah, it did first anti-war march on Washington, I think, is what at least that's what I'm the point I'm trying to make. Like, Debs didn't organize a march on Washington. He was talking in Ohio, and got himself locked up. And eventually, the Sedition Act got repealed over that. We still have the fucking Espionage Act.
Yeah.
And the consequences of that fucking horrific decision are currently sitting in Belmont.
Huge. Yeah, are huge.
But 657-298-4767. Give us a ring. Let us know what's going on. Jones, if you want to pull up the article that you had, that would be cool.
All right. So, whilst some bitch asses were cheering, obviously it was none of you, but, whilst some bitch asses were cheering about, ending the war in Afghanistan. Oh my God, yes, Joe Biden. Oh my God, I hit settings again instead of the share screen. But yes, whilst some people were cheering about that, basically everyone was making moves to, why can't I see the freaking screen? That is so weird. Whilst everyone was making moves to, why'd you cancel screen sharing?
Should be a toolbar up that says stop.
Oh wait, that was me. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out why I can't share the PDF. Okay, so basically I had to get an article in PDF of Muhammadu Buhari, who's the president of Nigeria. And it was an op-ed he wrote in the paywalled Financial Times, which is titled Africa Needs More Than U.S. Military Aid to Defeat Terror. Real quick, I'm gonna see if I can find it online because it might be paywalled.
Try to drag the PDF to the fucking browser. Usually those will open it.
Oh, never mind. We're getting a call.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hey, who we got, and where you calling from, and happy Sunday.
Hey, happy Sunday to you. This is Jeff Black.
Jeff Black!
Oh my God! Hell
Holy
yeah!
shit, dude, hey, DM me on Twitter, and I'll give you the link. You can pop in. I want to see your fucking face, if that's a possibility.
Yeah, it's good to hear you, man. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Ah!
Holy shit, that made my day.
I ain't dead yet. Okay, I'll see you on Twitter. Bye.
Hell yeah, dude. That's fucking awesome.
All right.
Jeff Black, out of the ashes. No, man.
It's been years, man. It's been almost 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
It really has been a long time since we got to have a talk with Jeff. I want to say it was like,
all right, I'm gonna hide me for a minute.
January or February of last year. Was the last time Jeff was on the program.
Yeah, because I remember I've never been on with him. Because I remember I haven't been on with him. So it was a cool minute. I think it was even before the faded Nico v. Yellow Vest America debate.
I don't think so. I remember maybe this is one of those things where I'm imagining.
Last time I saw him was right around the election, I think. I saw him online.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then we had him on.
I've almost been with Slow News Day for a year.
I can see the show because I was at my old house and I was doing the show indoors. So it was like January, February, or March of last year.
Okay. Damn, it's almost been a year since I've been on the show. What?
Yeah. The early October was your first show, I think.
Oh
it was
my
after
God,
we got back from DC. Maybe November. Not 100%.
I think it was October.
We'll get the date on that Reverend Annie show and we'll throw you a party, Jones.
Aww. Yeah, well, while he's setting that up, I'll show you guys the article real quick because, oh boy, is it some op shit. So, and for context, Muhammadu Buhari is the president of Nigeria. He ran on a platform of opposing corruption and terrorism because at the time of the election, the north of Nigeria was having some serious problems dealing with Boko Haram, which is a terrorist group. So, yeah, and obviously he didn't do anything to help with that despite running on it. So, here are some quotes from his little op-ed here. He said, though some believe the war on terror winds down with the U.S. departure from Afghanistan, the threat it was supposed to address burns fiercely on my continent. Africa is the new front line of global militancy. Yep. Yet few expect the outlay expended here to be as great as in Afghanistan. The fight against terrorism begun under George W. Bush administration was never truly global. False. Despite rising attacks across Africa in the past decade, international assistance has not followed in step. Mozambique is merely the latest African state in danger from terrorism, and the Red Berets I mean, no, not the Red Berets, sorry. The Green Berets were sent to Mozambique too. The Sahel remains vulnerable to Boko Haram 20 years after its formation and other radical groups. Somalia, which we've been drone striking, is in its second decade fighting the equally extreme Al-Shabaab. Many African nations are submerged under the weight of insurgency, you know, largely because of their U.S. puppet governments hoarding wealth, making it easy for terrorists to recruit people, and also U.S. drone strikes, which again is a recruitment tool, and also U.S. funding and backing in many cases. That threat cannot be ignored. COVID-19 has been like oxygen for terrorism, allowing it to gain strength while the world was preoccupied. Sooner or later, the reverberations will be felt beyond Africa. If extremist groups are able to hold territory, it can inspire disillusioned people living in the West to commit heinous acts of terror in their own country. So here he goes, lamenting, you know, the different actions that terrorists are using as propaganda while, you know, simultaneously talking about it, therefore platforming that same propaganda of the terrorists. And Africa has enough soldiers of our own. However, more can be done to help with technical assistance, advanced weaponry, intelligence, and ordnance. The U.S. airstrikes last month against al-Shabaab in Somalia, the first of the Biden administration, show what can and should be done. But what Africa needs most from the U.S. is a comprehensive partnership to close the disparity between our economic and demographic growth. Despite having 6 of the world's top 10 fastest growing economies, my continent's gross domestic product gains are insufficient to survive for burgeoning populations, because in Nigeria, the elite hoard all the wealth. So, I mean, that's great. And they're also heavily infiltrated by Shell, the oil company. So, yeah, you can find cables from WikiLeaks of Shell officials basically bragging about how deeply they infiltrated the Nigerian government. So, yeah. What we need above all is investment in infrastructure. Ding, 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 Fourth Industrial Revolution. Transport and freight lines can spread opportunity across nations, unequal in economic strength. In parts of Africa, a government's grip on remote territories can be tenuous. Militant groups step into the void. Some even provide a form of governance. However perverse, these areas must be connected with their surroundings, which basically means establishing networks that can be built on smart cities. And then let's see. And then he talks about a train line that they're building in Nigeria to Niger, which also is around the Niger Delta, particularly oil-rich region in West Africa. And he says, my government has been accused of wasting money because trade between our two nations is minimal. But that is hardly a surprise, given that there is no trade infrastructure between us. Well, yeah, they're wasting, the Nigerian government is wasting money by hoarding it massively. And they're talking about the U.S. already has schemes such as Power Africa, which invests in the continent's essential energy infrastructure. Interesting. However, more must be done. Ultimately, Africans need not swords, but plowshares to defeat terrors. Yes, we require the technological and intelligence support that our armies do not possess. Yet the boots we need on the ground are those of constructors, not the military. Africa's fight against terror is the world's fight. We will defeat them one highway, one rail link, and one job at a time. Wow. What an amazing appeal to just turn over and let every country come in to build smart cities and establish infrastructure that skyrockets us into an unsustainable Fourth Industrial Revolution. Wow, that was amazing, Buhari. Thanks for that. Fuck you. You're muted, Steve.
When we started talking about this and when we started covering this and then subsequently had Corey Morningstar on to go into it further, like really hoping that more and more people in independent media would start reporting on what the fuck we're doing as an empire in Africa. Seeing a little bit of uptick in that, but not as much as I would like. It is my huge pleasure to welcome back to the show after far too long a hiatus. My friend, organizer, activist, and rabble rousing badass, Jeff Black.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Much too kind. Much too kind. I think with COVID and our lack of restriction, I think we're all rabble rousing fat asses now. Maybe.
I got told yesterday that I looked like the quintessential image of
Oh God.
starving but well-fed anarchist.
Right.
I'm
Right.
like, okay, not really sure what that means.
I think it
Like
means
you-
we're kind of tender like veal. We've maybe been fed fairly well, but we're not getting a lot of muscular work in.
That all changes for me as soon as this smoke clears, man. I've got so much shit to get fucking built in a relatively short amount of time. It's been too fucking you can't work in the air quality like this.
Steve's gonna come back like all yoked out, just like, what's up?
Mm-hmm.
I'm jealous. Yeah, no, we had that in Oregon last year. I know they have some problems this year too, but last year in particular, there was a few weeks where there was just blacked out by smoke. It must have been some of the grimmest weeks that I can remember being alive. It just felt horrible. It just felt toxic to be outside. It felt like Armageddon.
Well, and that's something a lot of people don't realize. When you have a wildfire and shit burns, it's everything. And that is every single toxic product in your household. That is all of the chemicals in treated wood. That is all of your composition shingles, all of that shit. It all burns too. When I was flying back from Colorado last week, we got up into the air, or maybe it was when I was coming up, one or the other, but you could see the Dixie Fire over on the other side of the state from 30,000 feet. And it was just this underlayer of black and then dark gray, like mountain of smoke. And then when I'm coming up from San Francisco to the McKinleyville airport, going straight north up the coast, you'd look over and you could see, mountain ridges and then the pocket of just thick, black, fucking wildfire smoke. And I'm in the plane like, oh God, I hope that's not my ridge. Like, oh shit.
Right.
And I mean, it really is. It's like, you can see that little ridge behind me, but you're supposed to be able to see individual trees on the furthest hillside back, and it doesn't even show up on the screen.
No.
Yeah, no.
It's like the American government just doesn't want to learn.
Well, it incentivizes them if none of us live out here, and if they can get us all into smart cities, 100%. Jeff, I am really glad that you're around. Do you want to talk about what you've been up to the last year? Year and a half now, man. I really think it was like. I really think it was like January or February or something last time that we had you on at the beginning of last year. It's almost been 2 years.
Yeah. I've taken a couple years off, really from a lot of stuff. I had legal issues for my activism to close up, and they were fairly toxic to my existence. It's amazing when you get into the system that the smallest charge, not conviction, but the smallest charge can keep you from getting work. So you want to appreciate those that have been habitually and traditionally and by design shuttled into the to prison industrial complex and into slavery. All you got to do is even have the most minor charge and not be a rich person that can make it appropriately go away, and they can really fuck up your life. They can really do that to the point where you'll be lucky to get some minimum wage work if you've got an allegation of theft out there. Who wants to hire a thief? And you can see with the DAs too, right? You can see the power play that the DAs and the cities hold over anybody accused of a crime, guilty or innocent. So you've got cash bail, which was designed as a racist system. You've got the prison industrial complex, which was designed as a racist system. And you've got the alleged justice system that exists anywhere in these United States that is purely there to incarcerate and destroy underprivileged peoples and most certainly people of different races outside the majority. And so I've been having an interesting ride through this. Quite fortunately, sometime last spring or maybe early this year, the charges were finally dropped from the city of Portland. So
I remember seeing you tweet that out, and I did retweet it. That was very good news.
Things are pretty covered up in Portland, but there was a story in the Oregonian about those charges being dropped, and got lots of nice congratulations and whatever. The problem, that's nice for me personally because I need to move on with my life. But the problem is, what in the world was the city of Portland, the DA's office? What were all these people doing in the first place? Supporting predators and pedophiles and racists? That's the real question, right? And not the kind that we're talking about with like a Q conspiracy. We're talking about the kind that have been established in public record by people of reasonable sanity and judgment. Okay, and people that have admitted their crimes. Of course, the wealthy ones don't generally pay for their crimes in the way that the rest of us do. But there's no doubt these are not spurious allegations. These are facts. And the way that a city government like the city of Portland, or a state like the state of Oregon, or a nation like the United States of America is willing to ignore facts at the expense of humanity. Well, I think that was the subject of your show today. Portland just happens to be a little bit of a microcosm of America, right? It's racist, it's classist, it's brainwashed, it's xenophobic, and it's white as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like Portland.
Yeah, man. I know the subject.
To your point about our prison industrial complex, I was listening to a conversation on the way back from Arcata last night, and they were talking about the U.S. justice system as what it essentially is a system of retribution. There's no real arc towards justice that the justice system moves to. It is about either compensation financially or in flesh in the form of retribution. And that's no way to deal with your problems, or at least it's not a healthy way to deal with your problems. So, go ahead.
I guess first of all, I'm looking at our esteemed our esteemed co-host here, who I don't know personally, and I just wanted to say I was feeling very awkward not saying hello, greetings.
Oh, it's okay.
and all of those good things.
Glory Jones, Jeff Black, Glory Jones.
Honored to meet you. So
Likewise.
I'd love to hear our co-host's view on that, and then I have something I'd like to say about in response to that too, Steve.
I mean, just like in general about. Oh, I was gonna say, like, what did you want specifically?
Well, I don't know. I guess I didn't mean to throw you a curveball. I guess my thought in terms of what Steve was saying is that would be true in an ideal world where I think the justice system represented even a semblance of justice. The problem we have here is, retribution can only be thrust upon those that are deserving, right?
Yeah. Well,
so when we have innocent people in the system, not by my opinion, but by definition, people that have not been found guilty of crimes, number one, which is the majority of people incarcerated in this United States, if you look at the statistics. Okay, so when we have innocent, by definition, people, number one, but people that cannot beat the racist and classist cash bail system, then what you're saying really has to be called into question, because it turns from retribution into genocide. I guess would probably be the only really appropriate term to label it. And then my second point would be that let's assume that any given person in this system is guilty. As a society, as a world, as a human race, the concept that the prison industrial complex is there to actively and knowingly enslave people and torture people for anywhere from years to a lifetime is a shame on all our souls, regardless of what your religion may or may not be. This is slavery. This is torture. And, as someone who's spent a little bit of time in a very nasty place in that system, I can only tell you that the United States prison industrial complex is a crime against humanity. I mean, what else? What else do you need to know? What else do you need to know? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure jails and prisons in the U.S. violate like whatever international standards are set for that. I mean, it's like I don't know if in the US we need to like change our whole paradigm or concept of what justice is, just because like right now it's so backwards. Like you said, it's classist and racist in every way possible, especially with something like cash bail. And I mean, yeah, our justice system or the prison industrial complex is like solely what's the word again, retributive or something like that. Like it's nothing that's preventative or something that will actually prevent crimes, or it's nothing like rehabilitative or something that will help people who commit these crimes perhaps out of desperation. Honestly, I mean, it's none of those things. Like there's no actual justice involved. There's no sense of peace achieved from just throwing someone in solitary confinement for a couple years and then calling that a job well done. It's
making
really
sure
gross.
that person can't go out and get a job, making sure that person has no way to sustain themselves once they are let out of the carceral system. And that's something that I'm glad you brought that up earlier, Jeff. Our friend Keith McHenry, Food Not Bombs founder, has been unemployable for 20 years. Like by federal mandate, unemployable. If his social security number were to pop up on a payroll, on a payroll program, the fucking FBI would immediately call that place of business and be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" No.
Well, Steve, I can tell you, for those that don't know, my background actually was in the corporate world. I have a master's in business from Duke University, a lot of experience in different world leading activities, and that's basically where I see myself, where I find myself now, Steve, is in this interesting capitalist society that we have today. Anybody can be exiled right here in this country just because they can deny you gainful employment. And I'm not talking about six figures. I'm talking about minimum wage. I'm talking about a wage that would allow you to have a place to live, right? It doesn't matter. And so I don't think that it's rare that this happens to activists as they try to somehow gain a normal life. And generally with activists too, you kind of get beaten or imprisoned or legally pinned in a corner to some point where you move on because you got to survive, right? This is coming from a man that is actually illegal in all City of Portland buildings. So I think even within distance of City of Portland buildings, because I'm a peaceful individual, and you can't be having that around city buildings. So,
right.
It's really it's difficult, but I think it's more of a shared experience than a lot of us know, and that's some of the things I'm writing about right now, as I'm working on the book that I've been cultivating for quite a while called Brutal Reality.
Nice. I mean, you're right. It's like there's when you become like a serious activist, there's always going to be like a degree of alienation and isolation from society, whether it be via extreme means like arresting someone and putting them in solitary confinement like Julian Assange, or people just like isolating you in general because it's like, oh, that person, they're pretty weird, they've been protesting shit that I don't really agree with politically, so let's avoid them or something like that. I don't know. And it's like I think the fear of that is almost something that detracts people from becoming like very serious and hardcore nowadays, just because when I think of something when it comes to arrests at protests, it's like a lot of times they don't even, like, when they arrest huge numbers of people, they don't even book them or charge them or anything. They grab you, they put the zip ties on, they detain you in their cars for a couple hours, and then they just let you go because like that scares people. Like the thought of having to go to jail for just protesting something, that scares people. And I think it's one of the ways in which they try to kind of co-opt us and force us to assimilate with this system, when it's like, no, you just need to let go of that uncertainty.
Absolutely. If America is nothing right now if not fearful, right? The idea from the media, from the government, from whatever else, is to drive us all into such a state of fear that the decades long brainwashing that we've endured just continues to take hold and dig in further. The absurdity, right, of what we said we were attempting to do in Afghanistan. So, I don't even believe the premise, much less do I believe the other aspects of it. So I'm calling into doubt even the premise of why we went there. The absurdity of the hand-wringing about leaving Afghanistan and the people we're leaving behind while both within the United States and without the United States, our empire spreads cruelty and death without bounds. It's just absurd, right? I mean, it just goes to show you that the American people, I think, with the level of brainwashing and the unanimity of the exposed media right now, can convince the people really to jump on virtually anything and to fear anything or nothing.
Yeah. I think that when, because I've had this conversation fairly often the last few weeks, like what activists have to go through in the like meat grinding factory that is being an activist for something that isn't a state sponsored cause, like Black Lives Matter, or like being a part of the Proud Boys, or like being in Antifa. Like if you don't have the blessing of the state, you're going to be fucked with so much more severely. And if you're a first timer at one of those state sponsored events and the agent provocateur goes and smashes a window and the cops get called in to go bust heads, like if that's your first day, 100% that's supposed to be a deterrent. It's when you get your head kicked in and then you come back, that's when they have a fucking like real issue on their hands, because we're supposed to lay down, and it's the people that don't, that generally, I don't know, have that 1,000-yard stare half the time. But see the shit coming, try and get the warnings out, and hopefully, eventually it sinks in. I don't know. I'm also getting hella distracted by the fucking YouTube conversation. And I really can't stress enough that if your anti-war stance makes you hate anti-war veterans or makes you want to dismiss people who have been through that particular meat grinder and have come back to speak out of it, then all you're doing is farting into a wine glass and sniffing it. It's all you're doing. Like, you at that point, you might as well be like advocating for 0 teachers in classrooms with full pay and benefits while the fucking robot conducts the lessons on Zoom. What the fuck are you even really doing? Let's ignore like the most necessary voice, the people who have been through the shit and can speak to what it does. Let's ignore them. I don't know. Jeff, you're an activist. What's your view on former members of the military having an anti-war position?
I think it's the same. It's similar to what it is for any human being that gets sucked into a vortex of culture and masculinity and violence and glory that they don't understand as a very young person. First of all, let's be fucking clear, right? That the military takes children who don't know shit and convinces them to go off to foreign places and be willing to die and kill, right? So similar to the justice system, kids make a lot of mistakes. I'm not into hating people that believed they were doing right or wanted to do right and got sucked into a system that ate them up, because it does and it will. I feel the same way. People say, I don't hate cops. I don't hate anybody, man. I'm a peace guy. I see cops as really the same thing as soldiers. They're occupiers. That's what they do today. They don't live in the city. They're not part of the community. They don't give a flying fuck about anybody. They come there, they strap up, they occupy, they go home at night. Okay? So, you know, you can blame cops as human beings, but if that's the job you give a human being, what the fuck are they supposed to do about it? You think cops take individualists? Right, everybody says, "Well, I know this cop, and he's a really nice guy." I'm like, "That's great." Being a cop is being part of a gang. Your individual character preferences, your family. I mean, if you've ever watched Sopranos, right? Okay, so you might take the old lady next door a cheesecake, and you might take out the neighbor's trash, and you might have a barbecue, but you also kill people. You know, I mean, that's what being in a gang and a mob is, right? It doesn't mean you're cruel to every creature on earth. It means you do things that shouldn't be done in the name of the power and money and influence of your gang. And so, you know, even this, I got to tell you, Steve. I mean, you haven't been speaking out a lot. I also feel like the people of America have been speaking out a lot, and I think it was important to hear what they had to say. And I didn't really feel the fucking need to add my voice to such a long held and exuberant protest that people have been having. But I do worry about the knowledge of the system when people say defund police, or whatever these catchphrases are. To people that have been working with the system for a long time, the system's a lot more complex than that. And I think we really need to understand the system and understand what can be changed and what's so inculcated into society and into humanity that it can't be changed. And a perfect example of that, before I throw it out to you guys, is the Stanford experiment, right? So we learned many, many, many years ago what happens to human beings when you take one subgroup and you make them totally subservient to another subgroup, and the power dynamics and the situation and the cells and whatever, people go fucking nuts, right? So there's not a good way to be a good prison guard. There's not a good way to be a good cop. There's not a good way to be a good soldier and get sent to Afghanistan. So the question is, what the fuck are we doing, right? I was born during the Vietnam War. Why didn't we learn anything?
Yeah, no, totally agree. I mean, and like, listen, I'm definitely like full on, like fuck 12, all that. But like, at the end of the day, I do have that understanding that cops are just stormtroopers. They're not the ones giving the marching orders. If I have to actually prioritize who I'm fighting, I'd go after the politicians giving them their marching orders, or the actual system itself that gives them that power to be able to, bash my friends in with riot shields. So it's like, I mean, yeah, like I'm definitely not nice to them in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to pretend like I am, like I haven't cussed them out or any of that. And that comes from, my own experiences with them and seeing what they've done to people around me and to protesters I've been around. But like, at the same time, at the end of the day, they're just stormtroopers. They're just tools. It's like, will we have to go through them to get to who our real enemy is sometimes? Yes. But at the end of the day, we can't have like a tunnel vision at whoever a cop is.
Well, and you said it, that the issue is your local mayor, your local county commissioner, and your local governor signed a contract on your life. I like to say it a lot because it's fucking true. I'm going to say it again. Your local mayor, your local county commissioner, and your local governor signed a contract on your life. They gave the police in your state and locality the jurisdiction and judgment to use lethal force against you if in their view it's necessary for any and all reasons. Okay?
Yeah.
That in and of itself should terrify any human being to the core. Now, if you're a part of a community that's even more likely to get targeted by the police or sheriffs or state troopers, that's even more worrisome. But the problem is, as you said, it's the people that gave them permission. It's the politicians in the court, because they are protecting wealth. They are protecting state. They are protecting power. They are protecting the exclusive right to perpetrate violence on the streets. And they do that with great veracity, as we've seen with the stormtroopers. So I'm going to wrap up and throw to Steve here, but I want to make the point that the people, the cops that get sucked into that, like every other profession, I think there are people that are trying to support their families and don't know what else to do. I think there are good people, bad people, whatever else. But again, it's a corrupting force. You know, you can't send your kid off to Afghanistan or as a cop or as a prison guard and think they're going to be okay. They're not going to be okay, man. And this is the final point, is that the people that are perpetrating the violence are just as damaged long term as the people receiving that end. And again, back to the point of the Stanford experiment and the things we know about humanity, we have to do better, not just different, better.
Yeah. I mean, before Steve chimes in here, I was just going to say, I think, you know, for me, one of the great demonstrators of that was when the raid and sweep of Echo Park happened here in Los Angeles, and that was carried out, you know, by LAPD, mostly the clearing of the protesters, but it was done on orders by Mitchell Farrell, who was a city council member who ordered the sweep. It was done at the behest of the council members, and I even read through LAPD's after action report on that. And one of the first things they say was that they actually hesitated to carry out that order because, like, they didn't want to deal with the protesters. So it was like that, you know, that was that's like, you know, a key demonstrator of that point that I like to use, just because like the Echo Park thing got so much publicity. But yeah, Steve.
In activism, at least at an event, gearing up towards an event, it's vital that you attack systems and not individuals. There's a time and a place to expound on, you know, the individual characteristics of what makes a cop. If you are listening to any kind of you know, interview where Michael Malice has shown up, he almost always tells the story about how he freaked out a BBC reporter by quoting his father, who was Soviet Russian, by saying, wherever you go, wherever you are, the dumbest people are always the cops. And just as a Russian axiom, you know. And I mean, that's not wrong. It's really not. Like, the amount of training you get as a police officer is like 8 hours of de-escalation, 100 hours at a range. They give you a gun and a badge and they tell you to get out there and beat the law. And that's essentially it. You do not have to be a bright individual. You have to be malleable and you have to follow orders. Those are the types of people that you get, you know. And there are stupid people everywhere. They don't all have to be cops, but they don't have to necessarily advance in their intelligence to get them to understand the concept of nonviolence. We would just kind of need to abolish the state and establish either, you know, collective or private security. But that's neither here nor there. I do think that if you want to understand, you know, the individual motives of why people join the army, you have to talk to veterans. You have to talk to actual soldiers. If you want to understand, like, the process by which they were broken down as humans to be stripped of their humanity and identity to become part of to become the hammer rather than the hand that holds it. I don't know what to tell you, but who are you mad at? Are you mad at the hammer for existing, or are you mad at the hand that wields it that's smashing you with the hammer? You know, that's why you need to attack the system and not the individual. That's my take on it at any rate.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's the problem is there's both, because we're human beings, and everything that's being pushed to us from a brainwashing standpoint by the core media is about rivalry and dissension, and this win-lose zero-sum game of life. And you don't have to go too far into scholarly reading to see that that's not sustainable. Period. Not sustainable economically. It's not sustainable environmentally. It's not sustainable humanely. It's not sustainable. So, what are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, that's a question, right? We saved the world. We saved the world from the horrors of a man that many of us hated individually. Okay, so that guy's out of the way. Now what?
Yep. And look, and there I just saw a comment in the chat that says, well, the system is comprised of individuals. Yes, but they're individuals who are doing what they've been told is the right thing to do, or what they've been taught is the right way to go about things. So if you can't cohesively explain what is wrong with that system and why it should no longer stand, then you're just going to be talking fucking nonsense to individuals who the system has mostly worked for.
Well,
or if it doesn't work for, they don't understand why. Go ahead, sorry.
I'm laughing because it's a self-selecting system, right? The local media, the local business community, the local wealth chooses these people to put into power. They structure all the different elements of the news and the messaging and the development around the city. And they really wield that ultimate power and control, while people want to, as you said, protest individuals, tools of this system. Again, in these systems, you don't get into that club unless you've already made the compromises. You've already sold out by the time you get there. Individualists don't rise to the top of police forces, right? Rabble rousers and peace activists don't rise to the top of military installations, right? These are cultures of following orders, of a brotherhood, of an us against them. Geez, what does it sound like? It sounds like occupiers. Occupiers don't work. They don't work in Afghanistan. They don't work as U.S. police. And unfortunately, I think that's all that's left for us today for the most part. I think there's maybe small towns and some municipalities that are different, that have broken some ground. But in general, police forces have been structured to be occupiers, and the legal system has been structured to just be predators of a percentage of the population. And it really is, I think, in many places, the industry of some of these poor areas is putting people in jail, incarcerating them, and maintaining prisons, right? We don't want to close prisons. We don't want to let people out of prison, because then we'd have no jobs. It's really mad, and it's mad to the point where the governor of Oregon, who's I'm not a fan of, and she was on a national interview show. I think it was Chris Hayes or Matt. It was somebody on there. She was bragging about the availability of prison labor in producing personal protective equipment and things if needed. And that really says what you need to say about America when an allegedly liberal governor is bragging about the availability of slave labor during a pandemic. I guess the headlines sail by and the things that make me vomit on my desk just don't seem to be noticed.
Right? Jesus.
But black people are making us face masks, so it's cool.
Gosh.
It's awesome.
We got about 6-7 minutes left on the radio here, and then my computer is literally melting in this fucking sun. So, the top of the hour, we're probably gonna wrap up here. I do want to thank the couple of people who threw super rays at us, tea leaves. Thank you, and shouts to Truthzilla podcast. Fucking love you guys. Scott, if that's you, I want you on the show very soon. I would like all of you on the show very soon. And big shouts to Megan from Truthzilla for like being a goddamn meme lord. You should make sure that if you're on Instagram, you're following Heretic Girl. That's just it's goodness, like all day. It really is. It's lovely.
Guys, I just want to say that the support is always appreciated on Slow News Day.
Jeff, are you back in Portland right now?
No, I am just a couple miles away from the Canadian border in Washington.
Okay. Okay. We'll get down to Seattle next Saturday for the End the Damn Wars protest.
I might just do that.
Hell yeah.
Are you going there?
I'm gonna be in Sacramento.
And I'm gonna be in Los Angeles.
I just moved up to Humboldt County. That's what's behind me.
Right on.
I'm in the southern part of the county here, and Sacramento is still a drive. Everywhere is a drive. Everywhere.
But I've got some exciting stuff coming up. I hope so. I'll be in touch, and we'll talk and get together for sure.
That's awesome. So yeah, it's September 8th, this Wednesday, also in Sacramento at the Capitol building, emergency rally to protest Assembly Bill 455 and 1102. This is the start of the Papers, Please laws for your Vaxport. This is the start of mandatory injections. Medical tyranny, and if you're just seriously, if you live in California, find a way to fucking get to this thing. Well, September 18th, I'm going to be hosting and organizing another anti-mandate event in Eureka. I am hoping to meet our new Freedom Cell as a result of it. Start a mutual aid and counter economics program up here in the mountains. I really do honestly think that if we want to break the war machine, if we want to solve any of the problems in this country, we have to engage in full-scale economic warfare. We've got to break that machine. Counter economics is the way to do that. And it's nonviolent, which is something that I am a proponent of, despite the fact that I occasionally have conversations with veterans. Jeff Black, my God, man, it has been such a treat to have you pop in like this.
My pleasure, man.
Let people know where they can find you and how they can keep up with you.
We probably can't. No, I mean, I don't know. You can just. Oh no, you can. No. You can just Google Jeffrey Black Portland. You can read about. I'd love for you to read about my exoneration for stealing or removing. I'm sorry, removing the portrait of a child rapist and burning it in my front yard. So you can read about that. It'll also link up. I've got multiple articles on Medium. I've got an article called Brutal Reality. If you Google Brutal Reality, you'll find that. That's kind of a core piece on on policing reform that I wrote a few years ago for the Portland Democratic Party. So, but I've got some exciting stuff coming up. We're going to be finishing that wonderful film called Moose, which is about Quantus Hayes, who was murdered by the Portland police, a 17-year-old young black man. So, no, we're coming out of this pandemic with a head of steam.
That's fucking awesome, man. Glory Jones, what do you got?
Today at 3:00, I will be in Victory Park, which is 2575 Paloma Street in Pasadena, because I guess this Healthy and Free group is having a meeting, and this featured speaker there is Dr. Judy Mikovits. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what's up there and getting kind of like acclimated with the anti-mandate scene here, because I really want to, create another narrative on that's not filled with partisan bullfuckery. So yeah, I'm on Hive at Zero Eclipse with 2 E's at the end, and I am more importantly on the ground and around. That's what I'll say to that.
Hell yeah. Guys, it is an entirely viewer supported show. We do have a GoFundMe out. If you can, please throw a couple of bucks at that. If you can't, I totally understand, but please do share the link. Matrix bars for all your psilocybin chocolate wants, needs, and desires. Scan the QR code or hit them up on Twitter or Instagram at Matrix Genetics, MATRIXGENETIX. Huge thanks to everybody who hung out and watched today. Magnus for being on in hour 1. In the Damn Wars, Saturday, September 11th at a city near you. Go to inthedamnwars.com to find out more.
.org.
As always, .org. Inthedamnwars.org. As always, huge thanks to Sleepy Josh there on the ones and twos. You can buy Josh a coffee. buymeacoffee.com/Bort, B-O-R-T. Do the damn thing. Thanks to my better than your co-host Glory Jones, Jeff Black, and everyone who threw a super raise, super chat, all that shit, watching, hanging out, supporting the show. We fucking love you. We will see you soon. Good luck to us all.
Love y'all.